So I want to begin tonight with sharing together a recent announcement from the feds that's absolutely mind-boggling. If you have your finger on the pulse of the world and the things that are going on, this is absolutely mind-boggling. So it's so good that I want to take it in together. Okay, so that's what we're going to do right now. So those of you who are new to the channel, welcome in. My name's the Prof, and this is the Prof's crew, and we're going together learn tonight about the latest, just jaw-dropping announcement from the Fed. So let's get started.
Okay, good. All right, thank you all for coming out today. We think that this is a very important issue, and I flew down from Washington because I think that this is so significant. And I very much appreciate your being here along with the people who are standing behind me. Every day, tons of chemicals that are used to create synthetic drugs like methamphetamine and fentanyl are shipped from China to Mexico in China's undeclared war against America and her citizens. And every day in funeral homes across this country, we see the tragic consequences of what has happened in this undeclared war. The families who were forced to say goodbye to their loved ones because of this scourge. And so today we announce a very significant seizure of 2 shipments of chemicals shipped on 2 different vessels on the high seas en route to the Sinaloa cartel in Mexico. From China to Mexico. The port of lading was Shanghai, China. The port of discharge, Mexico. What am I talking about? I'm talking about 363,000 pounds of benzyl alcohol, along with 334,000 pounds of N-methyl formamide. They would have been used to make 420,000 pounds of methamphetamine, which would have a street value here in Houston of $569 million, with a higher street value as you go up the northeastern seaboard to New York City. Now, the labs that were under construction, that were being used to integrate these chemicals to make the methamphetamine, were under the geographical control of the Sinaloa cartels. And these cartels are capable and are known to make more than 1 ton of methamphetamines a week. Now, because President Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio have declared the Sinaloa cartel a foreign terrorist organization, it gives all of us in law enforcement the ability to move quicker and to seize quicker. And this cartel, as I'm sure all of you know, is one of the largest producers and traffickers of fentanyl, and they use murder, kidnapping, torture, and violence as a way of doing business. And let it be known that anyone who is working with them, whether they claim innocence or not, if they know that they are providing material support to terrorism. Now, this government forfeiture today of property allows us to seize all of the property, whether it is on domestic or foreign territory, even seizing property outside of the United States. And that is the significance of the FTO. Now, when you have a chance, I want you to take a look at the barrels behind me. There are 1,300 barrels filled with precursors to methamphetamine. It will take 24 18-wheelers to take these precursors to a storage facility in a safe location. I'm going to say that again. It will take 24 18-wheelers to take these barrels to a storage facility in a secure location. So today's interdiction highlights an incredible work that has been done by the Homeland Security investigation, as well as Customs and Border Patrol, and my office in Washington, D.C., that was on this case, because this is what we do wherever it occurs. And we will continue to stay on top of these organizations and on top of the movement of these precursors throughout the high seas to prevent them from making it to the United States. And let me say that this interdiction has stopped the drug labs that were planned on producing meth from operating. Now, how do we get to this point? We do it because we've got smart people behind me. We got people who understand drug trafficking, they understand money laundering techniques, and they understand transportation distribution, and they analyze, and they are just smart as hell. And thank God for every one of them. And I want to thank them for being here today and for the work that they do. And before you leave, I want to make sure that you look at those 1,300 barrels. And I want you to have a visual of dead Americans instead of where those barrels are, because that's what would have happened. Now I'm going to call upon Homeland Security investigation, the agent director, Todd Lyons, and after that, the Custom and Border Patrol director of field operations, Judd Murdoch. Todd?
Thank you, ma'am.
You don't have to step on me.
Hey, Don, what's up?
Quiet.
Welcome in, Don. Welcome in, Steffa, trial junkie.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Todd Lyons. I'm the Acting Director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement. First off, I want to begin by thanking the U.S. Attorney. She's been an amazing partner. She's been side by side with us all the way with Homeland Security investigations and ICE. And it's because of her and her office we could have successes like we had here today. I also want to thank Customs and Border Protection for hosting us today, as well as all the other law enforcement partner agencies that were involved in this seizure. The FBI, the DEA, the Department of Defense Joint Interagency Task Force, U.S. Northcom, as well as the Texas National Guard. In recent years, the number of drug-related deaths in America have grown to more than 100,000 casualties, and that's just way too much. This tragic and senseless loss each year has ensured that since President Trump took office, that's his #1 priority, is taking these weapons of mass destruction off the street. HSI's Operation Hydra is unique from our other approaches to combating drug trafficking because it targets the supply line chemical precursors that manufacture illicit narcotics rather than the finished products.
Okay, and that's a really important point. Don't let it slip by you. Seizing the precursors, because the product is finished in Mexico and the US, but they're seizing the precursors to stop.
As a result, it's possible for HSI to prevent much larger volume of narcotics entering the international and the domestic drug supply lines. These two shipments originated from the same vendor in China and were destined to go into the hands of the Sinaloa cartel. Had these precursors made it to their destination, they would have made hundreds of thousands of pounds of methamphetamine with profits of over $500 million.
Hundreds of thousands of pounds of meth. So this was just stopped for the cartel. The hundreds of thousands of pounds of meth that will not be produced or sold,
which would lead to more American deaths here, not only in Houston, but all across the country. Under this operation, HSI used sophisticated analytical tools and techniques, as well as our extensive investigative tools and our deep knowledge about cross-border trade to ensure that we identify these shipments before they got into any illicit hands. This marks the first time a seizure warrant was issued for the material support of terrorism. So let me just say that again. Under 18 USC, United States Code 2339B, we were able to charge someone with material support of terrorism, and that's the Sinaloa cartel. The ability to obtain the warrant for this was only possible because President Trump's executive order designating the Department of State to designate major drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. After seizing these 2 shipments, HSI International worked closely with our foreign law enforcement partners to consolidate the shipments in Panama and divert them here to the port of Houston. Our agents in Guatemala, Panama, and Mexico provided significant support to our Homeland Security investigation team here in Houston throughout this whole investigation. Operation Hydra continues to be a tremendous success to bolster our efforts to combat drug trafficking. Operations like this is key to our Homeland Security Task Force. The amount of partners that work together to take these illicit drugs off our street is key to making America safe again. I can't thank all of our partners enough, and I can't thank you, U.S. Attorney, for everything you've done for us to take these deadly substances off our street. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Okay, and see, the point that I'm making is this is strangling. This is choking the beast. Okay, hope you all understand that.
Again, good morning. My name is Judd Murdoch. I'm the Director of Field Operations for the Houston Field Office for U.S. Customs and Border Protection. I truly appreciate the work of U.S. Attorney Pirro and her team to my left, as well as our other federal partners that are here with me today. I'm honored to speak briefly on behalf of the men and women of U.S. Customs and Border Protection who are committed to protecting the American people and our nation's borders. The seaport environment here in the Houston-Galveston area presents unique challenges to the national security and border mission that we carry out every single day. Global criminal networks and designated terrorist organizations work to exploit our borders in many creative ways to move dangerous people and dangerous things here to the United States. The many barrels of precursor chemicals that are behind me are directly linked to one of the most dangerous and deadliest terrorist networks, the Sinaloa Cartel. If you're unfamiliar, the Sinaloa Cartel is one of the most violent and brutal terrorist organizations in the world. They have produced and distributed record amounts of drugs worldwide and are responsible for countless deaths, devastation, and destruction of communities in the United States and abroad. This seizure represents one of the largest interdictions of its kind in history and highlights the critical role of interagency collaboration and intelligence sharing in combating threats posed by drug trafficking organizations and terrorist groups. It's precisely why we bring our many unique areas of expertise together to form these law enforcement partnerships to combat the enemy. The Sinaloa Cartel activities are not merely criminal, they are acts of terror that threaten the safety and security of our nation. By targeting their supply chains and disrupting their operations, we are sending a clear message. DHS will not tolerate anyone or anything that wants to harm our community. Let me be clear, this seizure is not just a victory for law enforcement, it's a victory for every family and every individual who's been impacted by the devastation of drug addiction and cartel violence. We will continue to stand vigilant, using every resource that we can throw at this problem set to protect our borders and dismantle criminal organizations and terrorist organizations. Again, thank you very much for being here today, and a special thanks again to the U.S. Attorney for being here with us as well.
Hi. Do you have any questions? When was it intercepted? Like a week ago? When did we intercept it? Yeah, within the last week. Within the last week, we had to unload it. It was in the big cartons. What do you call those cartons?
The shipping containers.
Yeah, you know those shipping containers that you see? That we had a lot of those containers, and the barrels are then in the containers. Don't look so worried. Right now, this is a seizure of the goods of a foreign terrorist organization. We are working on that part of it as we speak. We'll let you know on that. But I think the most important part of this, as you heard from both Judd as well as Todd, is this is a first in many ways. And not just in terms of the use of the statute, but in terms of the size of the seizure. And again, I have to tip my hat to those individuals involved in this investigation. This is serious business, folks. This isn't about people just sitting at a desk writing a warrant. This is serious, dangerous business. And that's why I thought it was important to come down here and let you know the kind of work that's being done by people in the government that some people just take for granted. You can't. These people are heroes behind me, and all around here. They're all heroes here. So God bless them. Well, whether or not we're in a position to make arrests in Mexico, which is what you're asking, is not something that I'm at liberty to speak about right now. But thank you for the question.
Yeah, they're working on that part of it now. You know, that's to follow. But there's also another huge announcement regarding other arrests for other chemicals that the FBI made yesterday. And we're not going to cover that tonight because I want to really highlight this particular incident. And they are downplaying it. We're going to read this later. But this is the largest in world history. Okay, this is the largest bust seizure of these precursors in world history.
You keep going. Yes. No. This seizure is not planned in terms of anyone's schedule other than the schedule of getting it off the high seas, getting it here into Houston, getting it off the ships, and, you know, locking it down so that we prevent it from going to the cartel. It's got nothing to do with politics. Nothing. Other than the fact that this is the first president who decided that the Sinaloa cartel is a foreign terrorist organization that gives us the ability to move quickly and gives us the ability to seize property anywhere in the world if it is connected to one of these organizations. Yeah.
In the world.
Oh, yeah. Let me be very clear. This is the hard part. Finding the Americans who are violating the law is the easy part. So don't think you're going to get away with it and make a quick few bucks and no one will know. We know. You'd be amazed at what we know. We may be following you now, waiting for you to go to the next guy. We may be watching you and not ready to take you down. So don't risk it, because you're going to jail.
Yeah, I mean, let's be clear. Let's be clear.
Yeah,
There's a whole bunch of people shitting their pants right now because of the past few weeks of action that has basically decapitated this entire enterprise. And listen, there will be real world effects on the streets of Indiana. You bet your ass.
Go ahead, Todd.
This is the largest seizure.
Todd, over here.
Yeah, to answer your question, yes, this is the largest seizure of any precursor chemical ever in the history of the United States. So to the U.S. Attorney's point, you know, President Trump has made sure that these criminal organizations that are now designated as foreign terrorist groups, they're giving us the ability to go ahead and track these precursors before they even get here. So I think the key to it is, not only is it the largest seizure in history of U.S. law enforcement, but this just shows that we were able to stop a threat before it actually came on to U.S. soil. And that's the key part of this, I think.
Yeah. To have the ability to stop it when previously we could not under other administrations. It's recognizing the danger to America. All right, everyone. Stick it to this. Stay with this.
Yeah, I'm going to stay with this. This is key because, to the U.S. Attorney's point, we need to be focused on what the men and women of law enforcement do. So the men and women of HSI are out here serving this criminal warrant, and we're going to do this nationwide, whether it be international trafficking, human trafficking, any type of criminal immigration enforcement operations. ICE and HSI will be all over every major U.S. city, so you can count on that.
Whoa, let's hear that again. Let's hear that again, because, man, he slipped that one by. Listen to that one.
international trafficking, human trafficking.
Oh, sorry, not far back enough. Here we go.
To the U.S. Attorney's point, we need to be focused on what the men and women of law enforcement do. So the men and women of HSI are out here serving this criminal warrant, and we're going to do this nationwide, whether it be international trafficking, human trafficking, any type of criminal immigration enforcement operations. ICE and HSI will be all over every major U.S. city, so you can count on that.
In other words, the shit is hitting the fan. Okay, the shit is hitting the fan for these motherfuckers, and it's been years in the making. So I want to do another thing. Let me see if I can handle this. Let's see. Come on, Profity Poo. Let's see. We're going to go with this one. And this one. All right, how's that looking? All right, it says, this is just another reiteration of what we're talking about. Okay, it says more than, well, it's called U.S. seizes 300,000 kilos of meth precursor chemicals sent from China, destined for Mexico's Sinaloa drug cartel. Okay, the operation in Houston was the largest seizure of such chemicals ever by U.S. law enforcement. More than 300,000 kilos of chemicals used to produce methamphetamine and intended for clandestine labs controlled by the Sinaloa drug cartel in Mexico were seized this week by agents with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security's Homeland Security Investigations at the Port of Houston, announced U.S. Attorney for District of Columbia Jeannie Ferris-Pirro and Acting Director Todd Lyons of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. This is the largest seizure of precursor chemicals used to manufacture methamphetamine in U.S. history, said Attorney Pirro. China was sending over 700,000 pounds on the high seas to the Sinaloa cartel before my office seized them, because President Trump and Secretary Rubio declared the Sinaloa cartel a foreign terrorist organization. We can now strike faster and hit harder. This marks the first time a seizure warrant was issued for material support for terrorism. Acting Director Todd M. Lyons of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. After seizing these two shipments, Homeland Security Investigations International worked closely with foreign law enforcement partners to consolidate the shipments in Panama and bring them here to the Port of Houston. I can't thank all our partners enough. These many barrels of precursor chemicals are directly linked to one of the most dangerous and deadly terrorist networks, the Sinaloa cartel. It's one of the most violent and brutal terrorist organizations in the world. They are responsible for countless deaths, devastation, and destruction of communities in the U.S. and abroad, said Director of Field Operations Judd Murdoch of Customs and Border Protection, Houston. This represents one of the largest interdictions of its kind in U.S. history and highlights the critical role of collaboration and intel sharing in combating threats posed by drug trafficking organizations and terrorist groups. The chemicals, which originated in and were sent from China, could have been used to produce nearly 190,000 kilos of methamphetamine, worth about $569 million, if they had reached their intended destination. Instead, agents seized 6 shipping containers of benzoyl alcohol, a solvent used in the manufacture of pharmaceuticals, weighing 164,880 kilos, and 6 shipping containers of N-methylformamide, another liquid organic solvent, weighing 151,560 kilos. To put in perspective the impact of the seizure in fiscal year 2024, U.S. Customs and Border Protection seized a total of 78,925 kilos of methamphetamine along the entire southwest border. In order to transport the chemicals from port to a secure HSI storage facility, it took 24 18-wheeler trucks to transport the sheer volume of precursor chemicals. In 2023, more than 34,800 Americans died of overdoses from psychostimulants, primarily methamphetamine. That's 34,800 800 Americans just in 2023. The U.S. Attorney's Office for D.C. obtained the seizure warrant that provided the legal authority to seize the chemicals because the administration designated the Sinaloa cartel as a foreign terrorist organization on January 20th, 2025. The designation provided federal prosecutors in the district the authority to execute the seizure under the terrorism forfeiture provision. Joining in today's announcement were Special Agent in Charge Chad Plants of Homeland Security Investigations, Houston, Director of Field Operations Judd Murdoch of Customs and Border Protection, Houston, Acting Special Agent in Charge William Kimball of the DEA, Houston, and FBI Special Agent in Charge Douglas Williams of the Houston Field Office. The matter is being prosecuted by the U.S. Attorney's Office for D.C. as part of its cartel elimination effort, a collaboration between the office's National Security Sections, Threat Finance Unit, and Violent Crime and Narcotics Trafficking Section. The effort is also part of the Attorney General's February 5, 2025 directive, calling for the total elimination of cartels. Listen to that, okay? Look at that phrase there, because this is legal speak, and these people do not mince words when they do legal speak, okay? So hear this phrase: total elimination of cartels and transnational criminal organizations. Total elimination of cartels and transnational criminal organizations. By harnessing the resources of the Department of Justice and empowering federal prosecutors throughout the country to work urgently with the Department of Homeland Security and other parts of the government toward the goal of eliminating these threats to U.S. sovereignty. Okay, and here's some really nice photos. I gotta say, these photos are really nice. Check these out. Okay, actually, I want to go full screen so you can see them. Let's see. How about that? Yeah, check out these photos here. Look at this one. It's an entire warehouse. What did he say? 1,800 barrels or something? 1,800 barrels, 1,300 barrels, somewhere in there. 1,500 barrels. Very well packaged. Anyhow, that's that, okay? That is that. I wanted to share that with you, though, because I was very, very, very excited to see that. I think it's a indicator of what's to come. Okay, guaranteed, guaranteed. It's just the tip of the iceberg. And I hope you appreciated me sharing that news with you. Now, why are you excited, Prof? Well, because, first of all, it's going to save some lives. Okay, doubtless, without a doubt, it's going to save lives. Primarily, firstly. Secondarily, this is going to really put a hurt on the people we've been discussing for 3 years here. Okay, it's going to put a hurting on the very people that we've been looking at for 3 years here. And this goes beyond politics. Okay, so anyone in here trying to make this another political gaslight or argument, this goes beyond politics, because taking these people out of the picture is what matters. Okay, this is so beyond political gaslighting that it really leaves me speechless. If I have to explain that to you, I don't know what to say. Now keep in mind, I just shared recently that El Mayo took the deal. Okay? Now, any of you who've been studying Sinaloa at all might know that Sinaloa has had a civil war. So there was already a fraction that has happened. Okay? And they're turning on each other. Okay? A game was played, and now you have the head has taken the deal. Now, you know this. He's not going to get a deal in which he does not have to give something. Right? So what is he going to give? I can predict. Let's see. Maybe he's going to have to give the politicians on the U.S. side, right, who have been facilitating his organization. And most likely, he's going to have to give politicians on the Mexican side who have been facilitating this. He may even have to give up the politicians in Asia who facilitated. So you see where I'm headed with that. This entire deal is falling apart right in front of our very eyes. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you. And couldn't have come any sooner, or later. It's been a long time coming. It needs to happen. And like I said, the shit flows downhill, right? So you have to look at the street level. You have to look at the street level. So looking at the little rats running around the state of Indiana, okay? Now let's be clear. There's a highway. It runs, and by highway, I don't mean a single highway. I'm speaking metaphorically. There's what's known as the Sinaloa Highway, which runs from the border, zigzags on up to Chicago. All right? And everywhere along the way, there are rats that run the streets and traffic this shit all over the country to your uncles, your aunts, your nephews, your nieces, your daughters, and sons. Okay? So it's very much my opinion that this is going to put some hurting on the very people we've been talking about running these criminal networks on the streets of the United States and Indiana.